Now to Dan Sodergren, a technology and social media expert. Welcome to you. Good to see you. Gosh, there's so much to talk about. 20 years of Facebook. It started, didn't it, as I was just saying there, for Harvard students, called The Facebook, and it's now a $1 trillion company. Take us through some of the highs and lows along the way in the past 20 years, and then we'll get into some of those.
Yeah, well, as you say, Facebook is the grandfather of social media. So 20 years for a tech company. They say tech companies are a bit like dog years. So it's like 140 years old. So it's almost unheard of to be so old, right? 3 billion users. There's something like perhaps 7 or 8 billion people on the planet. So, and about 4 billion of them use the internet. So Facebook is this huge monopoly. I think, in fact, you worked it out. If the amount of monthly users it's had, it would be something like the 3rd biggest country in the world. But as you say, it hasn't had it all its own way. You've got to remember, there were things like Cambridge Analytica that happened, where it was accused and almost proven to unfortunately been swaying elections and doing other things, including in our own country with Brexit and Donald Trump and all sorts of things. So Facebook is very, very powerful. In fact, in some countries, Facebook is the internet provider as well. However, it's now got a little bit kind of almost pedestrian as a social media thing, because it's just where everybody is. So yeah, as you say, it hasn't had it all its own way. However, it's been very clever, of course, because it brought in things like the like button, and most of the things you see on social media were brought in by Facebook first. But of course, it very cleverly bought its competition. So it bought things like Instagram and WhatsApp as well. So Facebook, obviously now known as Meta for the whole thing, really is a very, very clever company. And unlike most tech companies, still run by the same founder and still going strong after 20 years.
Yeah, you say everybody's on it. Isn't it a generational thing? I don't think really, do young people really use it, or are they all on TikTok and Insta?
Well, this is the brilliant thing, isn't it? This is the difference between using it, of course, and being on it. And that's why I say everybody's on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean everyone's using it, right? So yeah, definitely there are massive generational changes, and TikTok and Snapchat is where younger people are at, and that's exactly what they're using, of course. But what Facebook's very clever about doing is it's positioned itself as being the kind of the leader now for the metaverse. And so it's looking at things like virtual reality and this next bit of this next generational leap, which is only going to be around the corner, of course, because of things like artificial intelligence. So Facebook's actually very well positioned. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a massive Facebook fan. I don't really use it that much myself. But you can see the power of the company because of how clever Mark Zuckerberg's been at predicting the future. And they're just about to do something new as well with artificial intelligence. They're about to give away their artificial intelligence for free, potentially undermining that whole industry and putting Facebook in an even stronger position for the next 10 years, which is why their stock prices just, I think it's bounced the most in one day for any other company that's ever existed, and that only happened yesterday.
Yeah, it's incredible, and they've issued their first ever dividend as well, haven't they? So it's taken them 20 years. Let's talk a bit more about Mark Zuckerberg. We're just looking at pictures of him now, because he was appearing just a few days ago before the US Senate, and he came under some quite tough questioning, didn't he? Accused of letting down families, allowing children to access harmful material and exposing them. And he did issue an apology, didn't he? How much pressure do you think he is under as the head of Facebook? It's unusual to see somebody heading up a company for this long when you started, isn't it? But there is a lot of criticism for him, for the senior executives, that they don't protect children enough.
Well, you could argue they don't protect the world enough. Social media really is a double-edged sword. It's a great thing, and it's democratized so many moments of our own personal talking and having our voices heard and these other things. But also politically, they haven't been great with lots of things. Moderation-wise, I don't think they've ever put enough money into that, if I'm honest. And and we've got to be a little bit careful, especially when it comes to children. Have they really done enough? Now, to say that it's all Mark Zuckerberg's fault, well, he has been the boss, so yeah, he could have put more money in, and I think he should have. So I'm okay with him coming under that kind of scrutiny. I actually think Facebook and other tech companies should come under a lot more scrutiny from our governments, because they are now so very powerful. And sadly, if they don't do enough to protect the next generation, it's the mental health of the next generation that will suffer much more than my own. So yeah, Facebook's now looking into going into the future of work and other things, and as I say, artificial intelligence too. So yeah, I'm a great believer that we should all be, as a society, looking at these companies and saying, hey, wait a minute, you do have a bit of a responsibility. If you are so big, you are so powerful, and you are making so much money, let's at least have a bit of a think about what you're doing for the generations to come.
So why aren't governments doing that, do you think? I mean, we've been talking about this for many years, the lack of regulation around Facebook and other social media companies, and politicians seem to pull their hairs out. And, you know, as a citizen, we can all sit there and think, well, hang on, you make the laws. Why isn't there greater policing of these social media sites? Do you think that there should be when it comes to Facebook then?
Well, I don't think it's just Facebook. I think it's an awful lot of them. And it's quite interesting to see other social media tech companies that are owned by different people in different countries do come under a lot more scrutiny. So there's a bit of xenophobia sometimes with these things. However, we do have a massive thing here where politicians, let's put it a different way. These companies are now so big, they're bigger than nation states. They are so powerful, they are so huge, they make so much money. The question really, as we say, as citizens, shouldn't we be pushing for our politicians to do more? But actually, what would politicians do? Because Europe can do something against Facebook, true, but Britain most probably can't standing alone. Does America really want to? You know, they're bigger questions, and I think it's all about where the money is, unfortunately. And of course, so Facebook makes an absolute fortune, and maybe that's why the politicians won't stop it.
Yeah, it really is a megalith, isn't it? Dan Sodergren, really good to talk to you and get your analysis. Thank you.